I'm Ranga Karanam, founder of in 28 minutes. If you want to connect on social media with me, you can find all the links on the website rangakaranam.com. Yeah, let's get started with the core topic, right? Certifications. A lot of people hate certifications. A lot of people love certifications. There are people who have completed like often in LinkedIn you would say 12x certified, 14x certified, right? So there is a lot of love-hate relationship with certifications for a lot of people. Let's start with my certification journey, right? 20 years back, this was the first certification I've done, SCJP, Sun Certified Java Professional. And I really hated it. I did not like it at all. The reason I hated it was because the exam was testing me on very, very minute details, which I felt were not really testing me as a programmer. Right? These were details which are important, right? I would not say they are not important, but these are not the details which would tell somebody if I'm a good programmer or not. If I have a SCJP certification, there is no guarantee that I'll be able to write good programs. There is no guarantee that I'll be able to write readable programs, maintainable programs, programs with good design. It's just a guarantee that I understand a few nitty-gritty details about Java. Therefore, I had a very, very bitter experience with my first certification, and thereafter, for almost 20 years, I have not done any certifications at all. And now, I have about 10 cloud certifications. I'm an AWS certified cloud practitioner, developer associate, solution architect. I'm a Google Cloud certified professional cloud architect, professional cloud developer, associate cloud engineer, cloud digital leader, and I'm also certified on Azure. Like I have all the fundamental certifications in Azure. Now, you might be wondering, why this shift? Why did somebody who hated certifications, who did not like certifications at all, just go into the complete other direction? Why is he now 10x certified, right? So that's something I thought a lot about too. And this is exactly what we are going to discuss during this talk. I'll go through the entire journey, what I went through, why I think certifications are important, and also there are limitations to certifications. Certifications are not end all and be all. As I say often, certification will not get you a job, right? So let's cover all that ground during the next 15 to 20 minutes. So this is a post I made on LinkedIn asking about did certifications help you? And this was the response I got. You can see that there are varied range of responses. Responses ranging from it helped me get a job versus it did not help me at all. So we'll also analyze this during this, right? Let's get started with talking about why is cloud important, right? From the morning, we had a number of sessions where we were talking about Azure. Azure is one of the most popular cloud platforms out there. Why is it important? We all know it's a growing market. It's expected to grow almost 15 to 20% every year for the next 10 years at the least. And it's a very, very important thing as far as startups is concerned, right? Cloud is a big differentiator for startups. Earlier, if I wanted to create a startup, I'd not only need to focus on the problem to solve, but also I need to focus on setting up a team for the infrastructure. Today, startups don't need to do that, right? There are a lot of SaaS startups which are coming up from India, especially because of this reason. Because there is something called cloud. They don't really need to worry about infrastructure. They can focus on the problem they want to solve, on the business problem they want to solve, rather than focusing on the infrastructure. And another very, very important reason why I think cloud is going to go further is because when cloud started, it was more of a cost center, right? People used to go to cloud because they can cut costs. They can save, they can increase their bottom line. But over the last 5 to 6 years, cloud has moved from cost center to innovation center. Right? Today, most of the things, if you want to innovate, if you want to do machine learning, if you want to like use some of the modern technologies out there related to data engineering or things like that. Or if you want to bring in modern processes like DevOps and things like that, right? The easiest place to start is the cloud, right? So whatever was a cost center which was helping you to cut costs earlier, today is the place where the most innovation happens. Today, most of the CTOs, whenever they want to innovate, they are thinking cloud, right? So cloud is something which is really, really important. And the problem when it comes to the cloud is the fact that there is a huge gap between the skills versus the expectations, right? There are business leaders who want to do cloud first. They want to become cloud native. On the other hand, there are surveys like this which tell that only 8% people have, only 8% of technologists have good experience in the cloud. So there is a big skill gap, right? So what we are talking about is the fact that cloud is growing. Next 10 years, there would be 20% growth in the cloud. However, on the other side, there is a big skill gap, right? The number of people who are experienced in the cloud, who are able to create production-ready solutions in the cloud is like, there's a huge skill gap there. And the reasons are very, very simple, right? So why is there a skill gap? These are the different services which are present in AWS. You have 200 plus services under a number of different categories, right? And if you look at, oops. Okay, this is Google Cloud. The same, the story remains the same. It does not change, right? Let me get to Azure slowly. Okay, this is Azure. Same thing, right? So you have a wide variety of services which are present in each cloud platform under a wide variety of categories, right? So if, let's say, somebody wants to learn the cloud, right? So if he looks at all this list of things, he's only going to get confused. So this is one of the main reasons why getting skills in the cloud is really, really really difficult. People don't know where to start. There are so many possibilities are also present, right? So you have compute services, you have storage, you have services which are related to analytics, machine learning, and DevOps. So you have a wide variety of services which are present, and a lot of people don't know where to start. And like, even under each of these categories, you have a lot of services. For example, this is Azure Compute Services, right? If a beginner is starting with this list, he's only going to get confused when he sees a list like this. The same is the case with number of database options which are out there, right? AI machine learning, I would not even get into it. So there are so many things that you can do in the cloud, and there are so many options for somebody to start their journeys. And there are a wide variety of career options that are possible in the cloud as well. You can become a data analyst, data engineer, a data scientist, developer, DevOps engineer, a lot of them. Oops. And one more very, very different thing I noticed about the cloud is the fact that the mindset for the cloud is a little different as well, right? Typically, a lot of programmers, we just focus on our programs. But when it comes to the cloud, you need to put an additional focus on networking. You need to understand what are VPCs, subnets. So you need to understand, you need to have a deep knowledge about networking, and you also need to focus a lot more on security. As one of the earlier speakers was saying, earlier all security was around the perimeter, right? But now security is something which you need to consider whenever you design any layer, right? Any component you build, you need to think about security. So, there are a wide variety of other terms which we use in the cloud, right? So whenever I go to a new cloud platform, I would hear serverless, I would hear containers, container orchestration. So there are a lot of buzzwords which are thrown in when it comes to the cloud. And all these makes people who are starting their cloud journeys, their journeys become really, really difficult. And the thing is, there is no one solution to it, right? Whenever we talk about a skill gap problem, I doubt if there is one solution to it, but I feel certifications have a role to play in this specific place. Let's look at historically, right? What is the value proposition of certifications? One is as a way to prove your expertise. You know something really, really well. I want to prove that. I would get a Google Cloud certified architect certification and I would tell the world, okay, I'm certified, right? So that's one. To say I'm really, really good. I have a lot of expertise in here. When it comes to the cloud, I see a second value proposition as well. The second value proposition is to help you start your cloud learning journey, right? So today, a lot of them are doing that, right? So a lot of people use certifications as a way to start learning the cloud. So certifications can be used for these two purposes. And today, I would say, especially when it comes to the cloud, because there are not a lot of people who are skilled in the cloud, certifications are most used for two rather than one. So the purpose of certifications, at least as far as the cloud is concerned today, is to help you to start your cloud journeys. At least that's my opinion. And the great thing I like about the cloud certifications is each of the cloud platforms offer a very, very well-defined certification path, right? This is the Azure certification path. Ishan Garg is a friend of mine. He drawn this diagram for me. It's a very, very clear diagram showing how you can approach certifications in Azure. One of the things I really, really love about Azure are the fundamental certifications, right? So you have 3 different fundamental certifications which are present. You have Azure Fundamentals, you have Azure Data Fundamentals, and Azure AI Fundamentals. If you have no knowledge about the cloud, if you know nothing about the cloud, you can take any of these certifications and you can easily clear them within 2 to 3 weeks. They are very, very simple, but the most important thing for me is the fact that they give you a very, very good understanding of what the cloud is and what the problem that cloud is solving is. So these are AZ900, DP900, AI900. These are at the top of the tree there. These are the fundamental certifications. These are great certifications if you have zero knowledge about the cloud. However, if you have a lot of experience with the cloud, let's say you are working with the cloud for a year, for a couple of years, maybe more. In that kind of scenario, fundamentals will be too easy for you. In that kind of scenario, I would recommend you to get into your role-specific certifications, right? So Azure offers a lot of different role-specific certifications. You have developer certifications, you have architect certification, you have machine learning certifications, security, networking. So all the important roles out there, there are certifications which are related to that. And that would be a great way to ensure that you have good depth in that specific space. Another place I really love the fundamental certifications in Azure is the AI and the data certifications. For example, I'm from a programming background, right? I'm not having a database background or I don't have any background into ML at all. But I would love to know what's happening in the ML space. But I'm not an expert at ML. I'll not be able to clear a machine learning certification. I'll not be able to get the in-depth knowledge that would be needed to clear a machine learning certification. That's where I feel AI900 and DP900 have a great role in getting a lot of people introduced to what is possible with Azure. In the earlier presentation, we saw a presentation on cognitive services, right? Cognitive services are so simple to use that within a couple of hours, you will be able to learn and make use of them in your applications. They make AI really, really easy. And AI900 would give you a good introduction to those services. If you clear the AI900 exam, you will understand all the services really, really well. And all the pre-built AI services which are present in Azure, you'll be able to make use of them as a developer in your applications. You might not have the expertise to create a machine learning model on your own, but you'll be able to reuse some of the machine learning models which are already present in Azure. So that's where I feel Azure has a really, really good certification path. There is a very, very good path defined, starting from fundamentals, associate, expert, to specialty. And the thing is, this is not something which is just restricted to Azure. You have similar paths which exist in Google Cloud, similar paths which exist in AWS as well. But I mean, my favorite as far as the certification paths goes is Azure, especially because of the 3 fundamental exams. I think with the cloud, with the lack of skills there is, it's very, very important to get a lot of people coming into the cloud. And I feel Azure Fundamentals certifications are a great way to get started. Oops. So you can see that this is this is taken from Microsoft's website itself. So the percentages you can take with a pinch of salt. But in general, you'd see that a lot of people feel completing a certification gives them a little bit more confidence, right? 94% people say completing a certification gave them more confidence. 74% people say it gave them more work autonomy, right? So completing certification gives you a little bit of confidence that you will be able to do well in the cloud, and you'll be also be able to do well at a cloud job. Yeah. So this was a survey I did. I mean, this was a poll, not a survey, poll kind of I did on LinkedIn. The question was, how did your cloud certifications help you? You'd see that 15% said, got my first job in the cloud. 8% said, got me a promotion. You'd see that a lot of people say, got me a better role. I think that's a very, very important part, right? So if you have a lot of experience, your cloud certification will help you get a better role. The other thing you can also see in there is it did not help me at all, right? That's a very, very big percentage as well. The reason why I think it's very, very important to remember, the reason is because just a certification is not going to help, right? It's very, very important for you to get the hands-on skills that are needed to make use of the cloud. A lot of people start with the certification as the goal, and that becomes the end objective, and that becomes the end. But actually, certification is just the starting point. As we discussed earlier, the reasons why I like cloud certification is, number one, is it acts as a framework for learning, right? When we start with the cloud, we don't know where to start, what to learn, how to go about learning anything. And certifications provide a great framework for that. Most of the certifications, I would say 80% of the syllabus of a certification typically is really, really good. There would always be 20% of things you can debate if they are needed or not. But typically 80% of the content of a certification is really, really good, and it really, really adds a lot of value for you, for your career and for your job as well. So it provides you with a good framework for learning. The second important thing I see is it acts as a milestone. As we saw, there is a path, well-defined path, and it's very, very important whenever we are doing something to have intermediate successes. So certifications provide you with intermediate milestones which you can aim for, and that's something which I like as well. As I said earlier, understanding big picture, right? So if I would want to understand what are the ML services out there, or what are the data engineering services which are offered by Azure, that's where AI 900, DP 900 play a really, really good part as well. So my 3 recommendations when it comes to cloud certifications are, number one, prefer role-specific certifications. I see a lot of people actually, like a lot of beginners directly jump into architect certifications, right? So they do fundamental certifications and then jump into architect certifications. An architect certification will not add any value to you if you do not have any architecture experience. So your certification should be related to the role you are going to perform. If you are going to perform a role of a machine learning engineer, then go for a machine learning certification. There is no, at least as far as your job is concerned, as far as getting a job is concerned, it does not really add value if you have 10 or 100 certifications, right? The certifications which you have should be related to the job role you are going to perform. So it's very, very important to focus on doing role-specific certifications. And second thing is to start small, take baby steps. If you have no experience with the cloud, start with one of the fundamental certification. And third thing I would recommend is do not go for certifications in multiple clouds without having sufficient experience in one of the cloud platforms. What I see a lot is you do 3-4 certifications in Azure, and the next month you jump into another certification in Google Cloud. And that's not going to help you, because you're not going to remember anything that you have learned. It's very, very important to take a certification, apply what you have learned through the certification, make sure that that is baked into your mind, and over a period of a couple of years, I think typically, if you really, really want to get a chance to apply a lot of things related to the cloud, it would be like a year or 2. And after that is when you can think about moving into another cloud. Unless if a job, unless if let's say you get a job in another cloud, yes, go ahead and do that. But typically, just for learning sake, I would not recommend you to like switch between clouds. Like switching between clouds needs a lot of mental context shift, because each cloud platform, while at a high level they are similar, at the ground level, there are substantial differences between them. And you don't want to keep doing that switching every day, right? So it's very, very important to understand one cloud in depth before you move into other cloud platforms. Okay, so this is mostly for beginners, like whoever wants to get cloud certified. The great thing is Azure offers you a free tier account, right? So if you create a free tier account, Azure gives you a USD $200 free credit, and you can use your free credit for almost a month, and this should be more than sufficient for you to clear one certification exam, to get started with your first certification exam. And another very, very important thing that Microsoft keeps doing is this Microsoft Virtual Training Days, right? So you have Microsoft Virtual Training Days, which are basically online training sessions which Microsoft conducts. Once you complete a virtual training session, for example, let's say you did a training session for AZ900, Microsoft also provides you with a voucher to do the certification for free, right? So they not only provide you with the free training, but they also provide you with a voucher to get the certification for free as well. So do check out the Microsoft Virtual Training Days website. These are, it's a great place to go to learn. There is no better place to learn from other than, learning directly from Microsoft is a great thing, right? So go ahead. This is where you can register for the fundamentals thing. The last time I checked, there were a lot of places open even for next month and the month after as well. So this is one way you can actually start preparing for your certification. Microsoft also has really, really good documentation related to each of the certification. This is not just this documentation, but this is actually the entire learning path. Like, these are a series of articles which once you go through, they help you to prepare for your certification, right? So this is great documentation. This is a great place to start as well. This is present for almost most of the fundamental certifications. So this is another great way to get started. And there is great content on YouTube as well, right? So this is a video from Andrew Brown. And you can see that there are almost 4 million people who have watched this video, right? This is the AZ certification, AZ900 certification course. So the thing is, there are tons of resources out there. There are courses on Udemy, there are courses on Pluralsight, there are courses on Coursera. So there is tons of content out there. So it's about you figuring out what you want to do. The thing about learning is, I feel learning is very, very individualistic, right? So there is no one common way that everybody of us will learn. So it's very, very important for each one of us to figure out which one works for you, right? Some people might be good at learning from a specific instructor, or some people might be good at reading a book, right? So you need to figure out what is the best way you learn, and you can take any of the earlier approaches that we were talking about. Now, before we end the talk, my 2 warnings about cloud certifications. As I said earlier, a cloud certification will not get you a job, right? A cloud certification is just the first step into learning the cloud. It's only when you actually take the skills you gain while preparing for a certification, apply them, create projects, build a great GitHub profile, that's when you would get a job, right? So to get a job, certification is not sufficient. That's number 1. And number 2, right now there is a huge value associated with cloud certifications. Why? Because there is a shortage of skills. But with time, in the next few years, I think the value of certifications will go down, right? It will become almost like a Java certification or a Python certification. Nobody cares about them, right? So that's what is going to happen. The question is just whether that would happen in a couple of years or whether it would take 5 years to happen, right? So those 2 things are definitely going to happen. So as a learner, what I would recommend you to do is to focus on building a great GitHub profile, get hands-on skills. The most important recommendation here is to get a mentor, right? So a lot of people, a mentor is somebody who you know personally, right? It's not somebody who's on YouTube or somebody who's somewhere else teaching. A mentor is somebody who knows you and also knows the technology you want to learn. So get a mentor who has already been in your path. That will always be really, really useful. Once you have a mentor, they will be able to guide you in the right way. Whenever you face a problem, they can ensure that you are not getting stuck. So make sure that you have a mentor. And during my career, what I saw is that technology keeps changing, right? So when I started, it was web applications, REST API, microservices, cloud, DevOps, serverless, processes change, waterfall, agile, DevOps, SRE. There might be a new term tomorrow, right? Everything, the way I built applications a decade back is completely different from the way I'm building applications today. And that's exactly going to happen in the next few years as well. 5 years down the line, we'll be talking about something completely new. It will not be cloud. It might be cloud, but it will be some other topic, not the exact same thing that we would do. So the most important thing that I would recommend you to take is to see the change in technology as an opportunity. A lot of us worry about changes in technology, right? If you worry about changes in technology, then that's not the best attitude to have. That's the, for me, I was also worried about it a lot, right? But over a period of time, I started thinking about it positively, right? Once you start thinking about it as an opportunity, like the way I think today is, okay, technology change happens, I can create a new course. That's how I think, right? So once I started thinking positively about it, the way, it becomes much more easier to learn and adapt to new technologies. The second thing I would want you to focus on is to identify the best way of learning for you, right? As I said earlier, self-learning is the most important thing, right? So today, there is no shortage of resources. Whether it comes to documentation, Azure has really, I think, one of the best documentations out there, right? And also, there is so much content out there, official content which is put out by Azure. There is so much content which is out there on a variety of learning platforms. So the question is not if there is content. The question is, what are you able to locate the content using which you can learn effectively? That's the most important problem we need to solve, right? Once you see changes in technology as an opportunity, and once you figure out how to learn on your own, how to do self-learning, I think those are the two problems if you are able to solve. None of the technology barriers will stop you. Thanks a lot.